Hello my friends! In my last video I just told about how the power of resurrection is the real driving force behind evolution. Now I want to tell a little bit more about the physical mechanics behind evolution and resurrection. So, as you know when an egg is fertilized, it's in a normal male ejaculation it's like 500 million sperm cells. Okay. And each of those small cells, they have different variations of DNA. Now, none of these, if there are mutations, those mutations aren't finished, like a new organ. But when a man and a woman comes together, they make a certain energy together, and that attracts one of those souls from the spiritual world. And those souls, they have many lives, and they have a certain type of, wish for what it wants. And it has actually been in contact with, the causal plane, which is the ID world. So let's say we have an animal that hasn't eyes. And this soul, it has gradually, it through, pain and suffering for many incarnations, it needs something new. It kind of like develops a want for an eye, in a sense, because it between the lives are in the causal world where it sees this idea of the eye. Now, this is of course subconscious processes, often directed by angels and bigger beings around helping. But that means that when that being reincarnate, it will actually make an energy that actually choose and helps that sperm cell that has the best type of DNA for that thing. And after many generations like this is how you can develop new species and new abilities and new organs. And that's also the reason why there are so many things in when you see on all the animals, different types of animals, there are so many of the basic principles and basic type of organs, they are the same. And that's because, it's from the same ID sphere. In a sense, we humans and the animals and the plants and everything, we are like one big family in God's creation. So, why is this important? The important is, I want to remove the theory of natural selection. Because it's a very evil theory. Because it makes us fight each other. Okay? And because it's not scientific. Because it doesn't actually explain how you make new things. But it can very often be an excuse for people who want to hurt other people. Or people that want to rule other people and just tell people to adapt. But the thing is that every species that ever did adapt, it got extinct. But though that resurrected, and always, kept pushing forward, they grow. When you see on me, you see these hands, they're not very adapted. It's probably the most unadapted hand, claws that is. They aren't made for fighting or climbing or anything. But I can use them for anything because they are so useful. You see? And that's really, I think while humans, we are the greatest animal. Do you know why? Because we don't adapt. Because we resurrect out of the situation. We don't stay in caves. We get out of the caves and build houses. We don't let ourselves being hunted by the big predators. We make bigger weapons, so the predators aren't really a deal for us anyway, we don't adapt to the circumstances and let ourselves starve to death. Instead, we make farms. We make things. We develop things. We can, since we are spiritual beings, we take things from the spiritual world. Humans are like spiritual animals. We have the animal ego that we have together with the animals that only, want to lay still and eat and have sex, and that's everything. And then we have the spiritual part, who actually really wants something more, wants to create things, want unconditional love, want to explore things, want to grow. And as long as we resurrect with the spirit, we develop. But when people start to adapt, things collapse. And that also goes for our societies, when people, find some new ideas, something to work together for, they build societies. When people start only to adapt into their societies, well, it collapses. And that you can see in whole history. So I hope this was interesting. You want to learn more about how you can really live with Christ and see things from a new spiritual perspective with Christ. Just watch some more videos.